train is coming, fix your business right. Little black train is coming, maybe here tonight. Got the P-Row in the shop, up on the cradle here in front of me, about to get some work done. Had a long day out on the creek, and I realized a few things that I'd like to get updated. As a guy that builds a lot of boats, I don't always finish my boats out fully until I know that they're keepers. And clearly, the Solo P-Row 12 is a keeper. I've already released the plans, and I'm a big fan of the boat. It's just handy. And if you didn't catch the build video, you may want to check it out. I will link to that on this video, and also have full plans available for my Solo P-Row 12 on cumberlandrover.com, and there's a link to that on the build video. So the first thing I'm working on today, I've got this seat back, which I do also have plans available as a PDF download on the site. And this could be installed really on any canoe or any boat with traditional bench seats. So mine, you can see it's just bare cedar, and I use some really cheap material that ends up being really practical. These white cedar boards that are sold at Lowe's just as fence boards, and it's like $3 a board for a half-inch by 6-inch by 6 foot. So you can make the seat back out of one fence board that's $3 and have some left over. And then use hardwood on the forks, and this is pine for the frame. But this, I just want to sand it, get it smooth, round off the edges a little better, and put a stain on it. I've got some kind of random oil stain left over from staining a guitar neck. Then I used the same stain on a kayak seat, and I've still got some left. I think I have just enough to stain the seat back here, the backrest. Next, I noticed today, I finally decided that the foredeck in my boat is making things just a little bit cramped. My legs are just slightly too bunched up. So I want to push my foredeck a little bit towards the bow, and I may actually rip it to a slightly narrower width. And I do say in the plans that it's a good idea to first install your seat and then get the boat down on the floor and actually sit in it with the boat well supported, and determine what a comfortable position is for your foredeck. Because ideally, well, for one thing, you want to have enough leg room, but ideally you want it to be at just the right position where you can brace your feet against that foredeck. I think I call it the mast partner in the plans, but it serves the same function as pegs in a kayak. The final modification is related more to video than to the boat itself. So lately, I've been messing around with some boom shots. So I just have this improvised sprit or boom or whatever you want to call it. It's just a random piece of pine, and I carved a shelf on it, and I've got a hole there for a 1/4-20 bolt, which is pretty much what all camera mounts are, GoPros, DSLRs, whatever. So I put my 1/4-20 bolt through there and just attach my GoPro right there. Then I had a wood screw on this end, just screwed into the stern deck, so I can bring the camera back here outboard and get some pretty cool angles that way. So I want to make a dedicated boom, which actually I'm probably still going to use a pine stick, to tell you the truth, because it's actually nice to have something that, if it happens to get in the shot, just looks like a spar or something. I try to keep tripods and mics and camera gear out of the shot as much as possible. So then to go with that, I actually need mounting points on the boat. I used just kind of plain old deck screws that I would use in structural parts of the boat. I guess that's just what I had laying around, but it would look a lot better using finished screws with small heads or even finished nails. I recently built a kayak seat with finished nails, and I'm actually a fan of the nails for stuff like this. Probably looks about the same to you, the viewer, but I got it sanded down with some 120, just a sheet of 120 by hand, and it's a whole lot smoother. And I rounded off the edges a lot more and then just wiped it down with a damp sponge. So now, once she dries, I will get this coat of random oil stain and apply it with a cloth. Probably not meant for exterior applications, but I'm not real worried about that. I think it'll stay on there all right. And I'm not doing this to protect the wood, just for appearance, really. I know a lot of what I do doesn't really make sense. It's kind of weird, some of the things that annoy me. So I took this stuff and filled in this gap that was really bugging me right there at the outer stem, probably about a 1/16 of an inch gap. Yeah, that bothers me, yet I'm painting my boats with house primer. Something doesn't make sense here. Here is the stained backrest. It ended up quite a bit darker than I really intended. So I'm thinking either all the pigment went to the bottom of the can, or I just put it on there too thick maybe. But at least it's got a finish on it and it's brown. Upgraded the pivot bolt to a stainless steel 1/4 by 3.5 inch. And also had to drill that hole out because it was just too hard to get the bolt in and out of there. And there's really no need for too tight of a fit on that hole. It's really not holding anything. The lines are holding all of the load. So it doesn't matter if the forks have some wobble, perfectly okay. So now, thinking about repositioning this deck slightly, I only need to go forward an inch at the very most, probably not even that. And I was thinking about it, and the other day when I noticed that I was feeling cramped, I was also wearing my hiking boots, which have much thicker soles than my loafers that I normally wear in my boats. So I think all I want to do is maybe mark a line about 3/4 inch to an inch from the edge and just rip that straight right there. So I'm not actually even going to move the deck at all. I'm just going to cut it down slightly. I didn't even bother moving the table saw outside to my boat builder's picnic table where I normally do my sawing. Just put it down on the shop floor here and plugged it in. Probably not the safest way to go about that, but I ended up just ripping off 3/4 inch from the aft edge of the seat. There's the piece I ripped off, and as it turns out, there just happened to be a knot right where I decided to make my cut. And that will be visible. I'll have to be staring at that all the time when I'm paddling. So how will I deal with this misfortune? Just say it adds character and move on. And here it is, character adding knot and all. You can see right here how much I trimmed off based on the spot that wasn't painted. Just have to do a little sanding and painting now. Had to fill in a couple of the old screw holes. This Piro update project has spanned several days now. It's now a Sunday afternoon and there's a tornado watch until 11 tonight. Just about got everything done that I wanted to, and I'm preparing to slap a coat of paint on the interior. So starting at the bow, I've got one camera mount here. It's just a 1/4 bolt going through the foredeck there. Yeah, I call that the foredeck and that the foredeck. I could really call this the mass partner to differentiate. Got some screw holes filled in there from where I made an adjustment to the width of the mass partner for more foot room. Got a second camera mount, just a 1/4 bolt. Any tripod bolt is always going to be a 1/4, as far as I know. That's pretty universal. Got a third camera mount down here on this frame, and that's a 1/4 bolt mounted to just a little angle bracket. Had to cut off that side short with a Sawzall, my least favorite tool, but happened to be the right tool for the job in that case. And this mount here may seem like an odd place for a camera mount, but I'm thinking that's going to work out well for when I'm talking to the camera from in the boat. Normally, or at least lately, I've been using a small tripod setup right here in this section of the bilge, pointed at myself or towards the bow for a bow facing shot. But it'll be nice to have the option just to go with my simple camera stick and that little mount if I don't want to bring along that bigger tripod to save some space. Got the backrest pulled off because I'm getting ready to paint. Got a fourth camera mount also on a angle bracket, which would be for kind of an over the shoulder shot, something like that. And another piece of camera rigging here. This is a random beaver chewed stick that I found along the riverbank. I just like using stuff like this to build things. So this is a boom for getting the GoPro way out here. You can get some cool shots like that. Got the standard 1/4 bolt on the outboard end, and on the inboard end 1/4 bolt and a wing nut. So that wing nut makes it easy to position and remove and reposition. So I can use this boom right there mounted to the stern deck, or I can put the camera up here in the bow and just pull out that bolt. So that's about it for the P-Row updates. Got some new camera rigging possibilities, more foot room, and now I'm just about to put a coat of Bullseye 123 on there and getting out on the water tomorrow.
Sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip that started from this tropic port aboard this tiny ship. The mate was a mighty sailing man, the skipper brave and sure. 5 passengers set sail that day for a 3-hour tour. A 3-hour tour. The weather started getting rough. The tiny ship was tossed. If not for the courage of the fearless crew, the minnow would be lost. The minnow would be lost. The ship set ground on the shore of this uncharted desert isle. With Gilligan, the skipper too, a millionaire and his wife, the movie star